Hi there, I'm just at the Palestine Museum. It's a museum expressly built for the Palestinian territories. The idea of this this short video, is to give you some idea of what the museum's about, and in particular, the event called the Nakbah event, which was a part of Palestine's history as to when the State of Israel was being formed. So before I do that, I'd like to just show you some of the museum and give you an idea of the scale and the content of this particular museum. There is probably the biggest collection of pre-Israeli Palestine as you'd ever see, certainly in Britain. And we have a library here. There's some activity from the various groups that have participated in trying to draw attention to the plight of the Palestinians. Local de-investment groups, sanctions, activities in Palestine by local Bristolians, film festivals, then national and international activities. Then there's a separation wall, villages, house demolitions, how many violations by Israel of United Nations violation there has been, to give you an idea of the content of the museum. We have a fairly good, extensive exhibition of Palestinian clothes. In particular, this particular garment, probably up to 100 years old, been modified. Some of the motifs have been worn off. And then there's local groups producing kind of Palestinian goods. We're trying to kind of like create a situation where it's as much about trade as it is about aid, and it keeps the cultural Palestine alive in people's minds. Also, there's zaytun products, olive oil, satire, and various other bits and pieces. There's also a child prisoner centre, which will give you an idea of what happens to youngsters in the West Bank and, well, mainly in the West Bank, what they have to go through, what really West Bank is all about in terms of the control that Israel have placed upon the Palestinians. Now we come now to the event as to why this video was made. This is a large map that we produced. It's a 1947 map of what was Palestine before the invasion by Israel, or for the formation of Israel. The idea was to get everybody to use the coordinates that's on the map and to try and locate all the villages that were there prior to 1948. This map is actually 1947 with the various districts. The people that came here, they used the coordinates that were given to them on pieces of paper, and they located where these villages had been taken off the face of Palestine. And the idea was to bring them back to life again for future generations, and possibly to bring the people that carried out these acts, to bring them to account if that's necessary. In particular, this particular one, which is Dar Yassin, which was a village that was actually completely kind of cleared of Palestinians, and many of the inhabitants were murdered, unfortunately. So the legacy is not a good legacy. Then obviously there were 530 villages, so you can get an idea of the scale of what happened over that period. The pieces of paper are so large, obviously they obscure, the actual landmass, but this is as far as we could get with a map that would allow ordinary people to, put their kind of like particular village on the map. So this is an event. It took about maybe an hour and a half to actually locate these villages, and then and it was a wonderful ceremony in a sense. Very, very sad, very moving, but it was wonderful in the sense that for a moment in time it brought the old Palestine to life. So in a way it's like reaching out to the past, with the hope that this can mould the future. If we carry on with the museum, you can see the various bits that are covered down to what some people term as the present Nakbah, in a sense. The Palestinians make no distinction between what happened in 47 and what happened in 214, the last Gaza strike. So this will give you a snapshot of what this building's all about. You'll find this on Facebook, Palestine Museum, Bristol. So it should be no problem locating us. And if you want to contribute, or you have other material that you feel that would be useful in the museum, please, do it and keep up the struggle against the injustices committed against the Palestinians. And thank you from the Palestinian Museum.